Let your soul be renewed by the heavenly truths we are about to share. Unseen by you, calamity quietly slipped into motion. Those baffling glitches in the apparatus, puzzles your rivals can't decipher, are about to become your prime source of delight. They were certain every mechanism worked to ensnare you, but they overlooked one simple truth. You never bowed to their design. Ripples of influence you're emitting now are completely beyond their grasp. With every inhalation, you're redrawing the very blueprint of existence, and soon, there'll be no denying the shift. Their reality is fracturing on 3 fronts at once. A metamorphosis of the spirit that will turn their deepest anxieties into mere whispers, a counterattack of the mind that collapses under its own weight, and a surge of raw energy that renders their armaments useless. Unbeknownst to them, your foes are trapped in a mystery they can't even begin to fathom. Every stratagem they launch against you rebounds with accelerating force, compounding their own downfall. They persist in believing you abide by the same confined rules of their reality, never suspecting you've already eclipsed their best efforts. Meanwhile, the very cosmic engine they inadvertently activated is tearing their world apart from the inside out. The instant you stopped trying to get their approval, the first revolution began. This was spiritual secession from their entire system of measurement, not just any detachment. Not only did you get independence, but you also gained sovereignty over a region they're unable to chart. In reality, you were building an empire in a dimension where their power is meaningless, while they rejoiced over what they believed to be your exile. In reality, every betrayal you experienced was the universe putting protection measures in place within your awareness. Your intuition was trained to read energy signals with surgical accuracy by each backstabbing. Every falsehood spread about you turned into a filter that now automatically wards off dishonesty before it has a chance to spread. Your suffering was not unwarranted. Rather, it was advanced training for skills that would soon render you impervious to harm. Everyone watching this cosmic drama play will soon see how your silence has turned into a weapon. Every word you decide not to say is causing waves of pressure that compel guilty consciences to confess. Your restraint is focused strength, waiting for the ideal opportunity to change everything, not pacifism. People who think you're weak will soon realize they've been making fun of a nuclear reactor they thought was a candle. When you've perfected the technique of transformation without them noticing, the psychological battle takes a dark turn. You've turned into an alchemist, turning their venom into pure fuel for your ascent as they hurl negativity at you like weapons. Every insult they hurl turns into insight. Every falsehood they tell becomes resolve, and every attempt to undermine you turns into rocket fuel that will take you to places they can't even fathom. They are fueling a transformation engine that turns their hatred into your power, even if they believe they are fighting you. Beloved, when you bless this ministry with $20, $50, or more through the Super Thanks button, you are declaring your faith in God's abundance. Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. Proverbs 3 verse 9, NIV. By planting your seed today, you position yourself to receive rivers of living water, of blessing flowing into every area of your life. For our generous God will not withhold any good thing from those who walk uprightly. Psalm 84 verse 11, NIV. Click Super Thanks now. Give your gift, and watch as the Lord multiplies your provision and opens doors you never thought possible. It's your deliberate actions, not your loudness or aggression, that have made you dangerous. You don't explain every step. You consider your words before speaking. You are not sharing your next strategy on social media for their review. The shift is sensed across dimensions they are unable to access, and you travel in quiet. That is spiritual warfare in action, the kind that uses sovereign consciousness to transform reality rather than words and weapons. The algorithm of control that runs their whole life does not apply to you. You've erased the code they attempted to implant in your mind, even though they behave in predictable ways, looking for approval, following trends, and caving in to peer pressure. After challenging what you were taught and uncovering the lies that have imprisoned others, You now react with an inner compass that they are unable to find, much less control. The majority of people are pre-programmed to respond in certain ways. They become agitated, given to pressure, or adjust to fit in. However, you totally rewired yourself. You become uncontrolled rather than merely unpredictable. Furthermore, uncontrollable terrifies those who base their authority on manipulation. To maintain order in their universe, they require you to remain little, but you have outgrown their reality. Hold on. Something even more terrible is lurking behind this metamorphosis. A phenomena that is pushing your old tormentors into insanity is beginning to affect them. In their nightmares, you are shown as an authoritative character they are powerless to oppose. Their own thoughts are starting to change into memories of the chances they lost by deciding to be your adversary. These are sneak peeks into disclosures that would soon take up their waking hours, not sporadic psychological hiccups. Their ability to perceive reality accurately is being jumbled by the second revolution, which entails a frequency shift so profound. Their brains now receive contradicting information when they look at you, which leads to internal system faults. It seems that something their limited consciousness is unable to classify has taken the place of the person they recall attempting to destroy. Their matrix has turned you into a walking glitch, and their pre-programmed reactions are wildly broken. Your foes become unintentional agents of your rise in the third revolution, and this is where things take their most startling turn. In reality, every attack they carried out was a divine mandate that they were powerless to reject. Every effort to dampen your brightness motivated you to explore previously undiscovered sources of power. They were fantastic workers who put in extra hours to make sure you won, but they never got the letter outlining their actual responsibilities. Take note of the ways their own lives are falling apart in ways that reflect the devastation they attempted to cause you. As though your energy field has evolved defense mechanisms that redirect malign intent back to its origins. Projects they ruined are nonetheless prospering. The truth is suddenly becoming clear to those they used to influence you. The world itself seems to be supporting you in ways that go against their conception of the nature of power. The instant you understood their viewpoints were no longer important to your reality, your transformation reached escape velocity. You did not progress beyond the realm where their judgment could exist because you erected barriers against their influence. Walls can be breached by operating on a frequency that prevents their weaponry from working. You're not protecting yourself from their attacks. You should be shivering right now because the seclusion they meant as punishment turned out to be a cocoon created by forces they couldn't even fathom. Yellow heart if you're moved by divine love. Now is the moment to share it. Click the Super Thanks button on YouTube and contribute $50 or more to help us broadcast God's blessings far and wide. Every act of generosity you make is being watched in heaven and will return to you 100-fold. You weren't merely recovering in that hallowed place, free from their poisonous influence. You were experiencing a transformation that would soon unveil powers beyond the realm of reason. Every time you were alone, your mind was downloading updates that would render their deception techniques outdated. By mastering what they feared most, solitary itself, you were impervious to exile. You came to terms with the most profound aspects of yourself that they hoped you would never find, while they shuddered at the idea of being alone with their own thoughts. You no longer required their validation, their groupthink approval, or their invitations. You began to see yourself clearly and ceased requesting to be seen. Your isolation turned into a haven of power rather than punishment. You found communion with something far more significant than their pursuit of crowds, attention, and chaos. Divine direction that flows when the noise ceases. Since you've previously overcome spiritual solitude and realized that the most valuable gift the universe could have given you is your own company, you're immune to banishment and are now shining in the exact place they left you. When you break the generational curses they were using to keep you tied, the psychological stress reaches a breaking point. With heavenly power, you declared, "It ends with me," after examining habits that were deeply ingrained in your lineage, such as the guilt posing as strength, the self-sabotage disguised as humility, and the silence around pain. There's no applause for such a decision. Isolation, opposition, and occasionally hostility from those who most need the healing accompany it. You were rewriting the dysfunctional DNA that had kept your ancestry in survival mode, not only defending yourself. You didn't want to reiterate what you knew. You rejected the roles they attempted to give you, the poisonous customs cloaked in a false sense of pride, and the "this is just how we are" mindset that confines entire bloodlines to mediocrity. You took all of the chains and melted them in the furnace of your mind, creating something never seen before. Limits made of unadulterated truth, accountability that slashes through generations of deception, and healing that reverberates across time. The irony is devastating. The dysfunction you escaped is often the source of your adversaries. They despise you because they were unable to free themselves. Once humming with rumors about your difficulties, the whisper networks have become eerily quiet. Speaking your name has started to feel risky, like calling forth something they're not ready to face. Not because they have nothing to say. You no longer consciously participate in the psychological warfare that has taken over your own existence. With interest exacerbated by cosmic justice, you have turned into a mirror that reflects back to them their darkest shortcomings. The most terrible realization is yet to come. Every injury they caused was actually the result of the universe implanting sensors in your mind that can now identify real dangers at impossibly long ranges. Their attempts at deceit seem like kid-friendly magic tricks, since your intuition has become razor-sharp. You can see their movements before they are completely formed in their own minds, because they taught you their playbook when they believed they were breaking you. What others overlook in plain sight is now visible to your intuition in 4K resolution. While most people are preoccupied with looks and words, you are focused on timing, energy, and the things that are purposefully left unsaid. Your spirit can detect frequencies that never reach the surface, so you don't need someone to admit their betrayal. You can see jealousy behind praises. You can detect betrayal before it is spoken verbally, and you can detect disloyalty while it is still masquerading as devotion. People, especially those who wear well-made masks, find that kind of view quite unsettling. Your spiritual intelligence poses a threat in a society that has been conditioned to value reason above intuition. You're decoding them at quantum levels, not just reading rooms. Your spirit listens for the truth vibrating beneath their presentation, so you're not influenced by endearing grins or duped by flattering tones. People who believe their secrets were hidden are making involuntary admissions as a result of the frequency you're emitting. The energy in rooms you've occupied inspires introspection in future guests. Your name has come to represent a level of genuineness that reveals the falsehoods of everyone else. Your previous adversaries are realizing that being around you forces them to be uncomfortable and honest about their own flaws and character. You have become a walking catalyst for truth, because you expose fake identities just by being who you truly are. You have turned into a dangerous person. You become more than simply a person when you enter someone's life. You become a mirror reflecting their worst fears. Your genuineness makes them reevaluate everything upon which they have based their identity. And for most people, that is far more frightening than any actual danger. In an attempt to impress, blend in, and feel like they belong, people put on masks and act like someone they're not. However, the vulnerability of such facades is revealed by your very existence. Your energy alone draws attention to the inconsistencies in their life. You don't even need to speak. People become uneasy when you enter the room with clarity, assurance, and the truth, because they realize they are living in deception. You express clarity rather than harm. You use your own power to destroy people's illusions, rather than using attacks to tear them apart. It's not even deliberate. In a society that feeds on masks, it's simply the inevitable outcome of being genuine. For people who are content with their life, your presence is a form of destruction for which they are unprepared. Now is the pivotal moment. They are coming to the horrifying realization that you were never the victim in this story, but rather the protagonist gaining strength as they played supporting parts in an unfathomable drama. In reality, Every plan they came up with was a narrative element meant to guarantee your eventual triumph. They were writing their own obsolescence, even though they believed they were writing your ending. You stand for everything they attempted to destroy, but were unable to do so. You are tangible proof that their attempts were a complete failure. After the pressure they put on your name, the attacks on your character, the betrayal of trust, and the circumstances intended to destroy your mental and emotional integrity, you weren't supposed to be standing. Dove brothers and sisters, everything done in faith multiplies in God's abundance. Use the Super Thanks feature to donate $100 today and join this sacred mission. When your roots are grounded in Him, your fruit will flourish, and your offering becomes a seed that bears blessed harvests. The cosmic joke that is driving them crazy is that they were attempting total annihilation, not just hurting you. You made it through everything, and now they're punishing you with your very existence. Every time they see you, they are reminded that nothing they have tried has ever worked, so they can't bear to look at you. It was not intended for you to mature in that bewilderment, to build clarity in that confusion, or to discover strength in that loneliness. You are a living example of how the chosen are immune to destruction because you not only survived, but also changed. You transformed every loss into strength, every betrayal into insight, and every wound into wisdom. People who didn't want you to realize your full potential are terrified by that kind of change. You've turned into a mirror they can't get away from, which is much more destructive. You are a reflection of everything they have attempted to bury within themselves, including the shame they deny, the jealousy they conceal behind false smiles, and the truth they flee. Everything they believed they got away with is exposed by your presence. You only need to continue to exist. You don't need to reveal them. Your achievement becomes their failure made visible. Your progress becomes their condemnation, and your tranquility becomes their suffering. I have to pause this communication for a second. Are you indeed selected? Show it. Watching films of chosen ones is one thing, but testing yourself is quite another. Then the event occurred that totally upended their world. Everything was reframed in retrospect once the universe revealed the ultimate truth. You were trying out for your position as their judge, not battling for your life. They inadvertently built the courtroom where their own judgment would be rendered with every attack they launched, every plan they devised, and every minute they believed they were destroying you. With chilling accuracy, the cosmic machinery slotted into place. They came to the painful realization that their persecution of you was not an act of random cruelty, but rather a heavenly test that they failed miserably. They were defendants in their own trial, even if they believed they were the prosecutors in your ruin. And all of the evidence they attempted to use against you turned out to be evidence of their own guilt. Your remaining silent during their onslaught was judicial restraint, not capitulation. Your seclusion was deliberate, not exile. Your metamorphosis was the cosmos getting ready to render its judgment, not recuperation. Your patience was truly the calm before cosmic justice, but they misunderstood it for weakness. The thing that breaks them utterly, though, is that they never despised you for who you were. Instead, they loathed the idea that you may one day come to terms with who you truly are. They cannot take it back now that you have. They are unable to make you feel insignificant again. What has already been formed in fire cannot be broken. You are more than just a survivor. You pose a threat to all of the falsehoods they have spread about you, and they're running for precisely that reason. Their recent experience of a frequency shift isn't coincidental. Rather, it's the cosmos adjusting reality to reflect the actual power dynamics. Raising yourself above their grasp isn't an escape. Rather, it's you assuming your proper position in the hierarchy they were unaware of. They are permanently removed from a reality in which they no longer belong, and their perplexity is not a passing phase. Reality recognizing its actual sovereign and adapting accordingly is the same phenomena that underlies every dream in which you appear as an authoritative figure, every setback in their goals, and every reversal of their fortune. The verdict is in, and the trial is over. The inherent results of cosmic law are being used to carry out the sentence. Their vigorous campaign against you has backfired so spectacularly that they are now facing unanticipated consequences. It's not that you planned retaliation. You've outgrown the necessity for such uncivilized methods. While concentrating on your destruction, they disregarded the laws of the cosmos, which now demand payment with exponentially compounding interest. The environment itself is already being impacted by your presence in ways that will soon be hard to ignore. When your adversaries try to disseminate false information about you, electronics malfunction. There's an electric energy to conversations about you that makes others uncomfortable with their own deceit. Your energy signature has grown so strong that it confuses recording equipment meant to document your alleged shortcomings. The physical world now fears you because you have made the spiritual realm your stronghold. You learn to use your spirit to fight wars while others use their hands. You began connecting yourself with energies that are felt across dimensions but cannot be seen, and you stopped getting caught up in little disputes. You constructed your stronghold with energy, faith, and spiritual conviction that transcends the bounds of their constrained reality rather than physical brick and cement. Glowing star yearning to witness God's miracles firsthand? Plant your spiritual seed now by contributing $100 or more through the YouTube Super Thanks button. Your offering lights the path for others and echoes through His divine plan, bringing His light into every step you take. Your energy now precedes you into every room, every discussion, and every circumstance. When your name is spoken, electromagnetic pulses are sent across the air, making others uncomfortable in ways they cannot explain. When technology breaks during conversations on your progress, they assume it's a coincidence. When they criticize your metamorphosis, they justify the way their own words seem to work against them. However, the reality is much more devastating. You have access to something that they are unable to control, influence, or comprehend. Everything around you starts to react to your profound harmony with the spiritual energies that regulate power, truth, and purpose. Realizing that your previous tormentors are imprisoned in a prison they built for themselves is the pinnacle of the psychological battle. Since you've risen above their reach, they've centered their identities upon becoming your adversary, and now they're suffering from an incomprehensible kind of spiritual malnutrition. They're learning that their entire identity was parasitic in the absence of your attention to feed on. Your success stories are starting to spread via the same platforms that used to spread false information about your shortcomings. However, there's an intensity in these testimonies that cannot be faked. Through networks they formerly controlled, the unmistakable resonance of genuine success over adversity is spreading like wildfire. People who previously dismissed you as defeated are now contacting you with inquiries they're hesitant to make about how you were able to undergo such a change. Critical mass has been attained in the reversal. As their allies start to doubt the story they were sold, their support networks are disintegrating. Those who took part in your exile are now feeling the anguish they helped cause, and are also going through their own betrayals. It's getting harder to overlook the irony, as the poison they deployed against you is being consumed by the toxic networks they created. For those who tell themselves they have no guilt, your presence wakes it. Even though you avoid pointing fingers and dragging names through the mud, people nevertheless feel vulnerable when you enter a room because of your aura, which speaks to their own lost authenticity rather than anything you say. Your presence has a distinct effect because it upends the ease with which they have constructed their false identities, lies, and performative goodness. When you're close, everything starts to go wrong because your genuineness makes people who give up this feel unbearably tense. Your development, tranquility, and survival speak for itself. You don't need to remind them of their actions or bring up the past. They still feel the heat even though you don't harbor any resentment. You've mended the parts of yourself that they never dare to look at, and you've forgiven what they thought would break you. You changed into the version of yourself that makes their justifications seem weak. They see more than just you when they see you today. They see the person they will never have the guts to be. They are unable to break free from the spiritual pressure. People who have buried their consciences are awakened by you. Although you didn't embarrass them, your progress makes them realize how stagnant they are. Although you didn't threaten them, their disarray is shown by your calm. Although your honesty made their lies seem unbearably loud, you did not degrade them. It was always your birthright to be invincible. The power they attempted to take away was never truly in danger. Rather, it was dormant and awaited the right circumstances. The exact pressure required to awaken powers that had been dormant in you since the beginning of time was supplied by their persecution. Spiritual change, psychological transcendence, and energy sovereignty have all combined to build an unbreakable rope that links you to power sources you were unaware existed. You have turned into a live example of the idea that what doesn't break you makes you stronger. It makes you invincible. The final insight flashes like lightning across your mind. Whatever you did in the internal alchemy you conducted in the laboratory of your solitude. Whatever prayers you muttered into the darkness. Whatever you did during those long nights of reconstruction, it worked. It was the ideal formula. The timing was divine. The outcomes are now indisputable. You became genuinely dangerous when you ceased demonstrating your value. You understand that the purpose of the game was to let go of the overwhelming need to prove anything at all, not to prove your worth. For a long time, you followed their guidelines in an effort to be accepted, to meet their standards, and to gauge your value. You were stuck in their timeline, working nonstop to get a place at a table that never valued you, and living out a script you didn't write. Then something changed. You stopped because you understood that your worth was never theirs to determine, not because you didn't care about it. You resisted the urge to impress, compete for attention, and justify every action you took. Your quiet wasn't a retreat. Rather, it was a calculated move to assert your own authority. You created your own kingdom by removing yourself from their stage, their commotion, and their expectations. You began living your truth without anyone's approval and stopped looking for approval to exist on your terms. Standing tall and powerful, you realized that your apathy, not your retaliation, was their worst dread. Now, the person they believed they had broken lives in a world where their existence is meaningless. You outgrew them rather than conquered them. Because you transcended the battlefield, the conflict is over. Because you broke the rules, the game is over. You're now transmitting on a bandwidth they can't receive because your frequency has changed so drastically. They get only resolute observation when they try to elicit emotional responses. They find that those psychological buttons have been totally rewired when they attempt to elicit prior insecurities. As you've developed the ability to reveal their vulnerabilities without conscious effort, you've also become immune to their infection. Their existence just doesn't seem as important to your reality anymore because you've evolved to that stage. You outgrew them rather than conquered them. You advanced past the point at which loss was feasible. Thus you didn't beat them. You succeeded by overcoming the necessity of their complete defeat rather than by defeating them. It worked, whatever you did. You achieved the most devastating triumph possible. You were no longer someone they could harm. This one came about without the use of force or retaliation. You've risen above the battlefield, where they're still battling shadows. Therefore, the conflict is over. And you finally realize what the universe has been planning all along at this instant of total realization, surrounded by the unwavering serenity of understanding who you really are. Your invincibility was an investment made during every painful moment. Each betrayal served as a discerning lesson. Each assault served as practice for skills they are unable to understand. You prevailed. You already have it. Before their plans were even conceived, the victory was etched in your DNA. Greetings from your new world, where your might is limitless and their weapons are inoperable.